My name is Kevin Ryan and I'm the Compliance Co-Ordinator with the Irish Council for Social Housing. This video is designed to help members complete the annual return which has recently been issued by the Housing Agency. Members who have signed up to the Voluntary Regulation Code should complete and return the form and supporting documentation to the Housing Agency by the 28th of July. If you feel that you need more time to complete the return, for example because your board is not meeting in the interim, you can contact the Regulation Unit to arrange submission at a later date. The return is a 10-page document broken into sections on general details and profiling, governance details, financial and business management, and performance management and tenant services. The return employs a proportionate approach based on tier level. Those listed as Tier 1s will fill out sections where the 1 symbol appears at the top, Tier 2s will fill it out where the 2 appears at the top, and Tier 3s will have to complete the entire return. Comply or explain approach is adopted in the return. This means that where an organisation doesn't meet the requirements of one of the aspects of the code at the moment, but is working towards this, it can explain this in the space provided. For example, if the organisation does not have a complaints policy at the moment but is developing one, it can say this in the space provided. The first section of the return relates to collecting contact and profiling details of each housing association. This includes the tier level into which the association falls, which is based on the number of units owned, leased and managed by the association, as well as any development plans that it may have. The bottom part of the section refers to the contact details of the association. The following section relates to actual contact details within the association for regulation purposes, as well as the background details of the registration and establishment. This includes a brief outline of the goals of the organisation, such as our focus is on housing people with intellectual disabilities. Finally, the bottom part of this section refers to a listing of the total number of units owned, leased and managed by the AHB. The final number will refer to the total amount of stock under control of the housing association. The first part of Section 2 requires information on board composition, including names and length of service to date. All board members should be listed here. Boards should be comprised of a range of expertise that will contribute to the efficient management of the association, and members should be aware of the responsibilities of functions of the board. The bottom part of the form requires associations to confirm that certain policies and procedures are in place or are in the process of being developed. If you need assistance in developing any of these policies, the ICSH can provide templates and guidance notes to help you. The following page requires information on staff and volunteers in the association. For associations with an organisational chart, it can be attached here. Section 2.3 focuses on compliance with other responsibilities, including filing an annual return with the company's registration office and the possession of a valid tax clearance certificate. The next part of this section relates to reporting and planning. An annual report is a document which outlines the association's activities throughout the preceding year and may be prepared by the chairperson before the AGM. The final section, which all tiers have to complete, is 2.5, which requires a brief narrative of any key developments throughout the last year. For example, we received CAS funding for 4 additional units, we reduced our void periods, or we maintained existing levels of tenant satisfaction. Section 3 refers to the financial and business management of the association. The first part relates to annual accounts, and each association should attach a copy of the letter received from their auditor. Each association can also direct the auditor to report on the compliance status of the association by examining its compliance with the provisions set out in the code. Section 3.2 also has to be completed by all associations. A sinking fund is revenue that is set aside to fund long-term repairs and maintenance. Each association should set aside an appropriate amount based on an assessment of the likely future maintenance needs of their existing stock. Sections 3.3 and 3.4 only have to be completed by tiers 2 and 3. A finance committee is generally a standing committee of the board of directors that works with the director and the financial staff to monitor the finances of the organisation. A risk register is a document which outlines the potential threats to the ongoing operation of an association and what mitigation measures are in place to deal with the consequences in the event of their occurrence. Section 4 requires performance management and tenant service information. Those organisations that complete a HAPM survey can attach the annual report that they receive from the ICSH. Recently, there has been an abridged version of the survey introduced to focus on the requirements and resources of Tier 1 organisations. Associations who complete the survey will be issued with a statement of results which they attach to the return. Section 4.2 requires confirmation of the existence of policies in areas such as rent arrears and complaints. If the association does not currently possess policies in any of these areas, it can contact the ICSH for assistance in developing these. Finally, Section 4.3 asks that associations say briefly how they communicate with tenants. This may be one or a combination of the methods listed, such as newsletters, liaison officers, or tenancy training. Page 8 of the return provides a checklist for ensuring that all relevant information is attached to the form. It also contains a declaration that all information is accurate and representative of the association. The return should then be signed off on at board level. Finally, associations are asked to renew their commitments to meeting the principles of the Voluntary Regulation Code by signing the Charter of Commitments Renewal. If you require any further guidance on any aspect of the code or completing the return, please contact myself, the ICSH Compliance Co-Ordinator, at 01 661 8334 or kevin@icsh.ie. Thank you for your time in watching this short presentation.